I think this, new chapter in Sprout, where I'm actually trying to play a bit more YOLO at times and just act like I'm the best player in the entire world. I think that's making me have way more impact. I think it's actually just been amazing. Like it's really hard work. There's a lot of, how should I say it? There's a lot of emotions that also come into play. You know, if you play bad, it might be harder on you than if you're just an amateur player. But so far, I think it's been really good. I get to travel a lot. I get to see the world. I get to play a lot of big events. I get to do it with some of my best friends, and I think we're doing a really good job, especially currently now that we're here at the minor. So the first few months here have just been absolutely amazing, and it's almost been trouble-free. The only issues that I could ever have, I have other people to deal with, a mental coach, for example, and an agent. So I just have to focus on playing, and that's what I've been doing the past few months. What I expected when I became a professional player was that obviously we'd be traveling a lot, and we have also been traveling quite a bit. But I don't know, it seems weird, but I didn't think, at least at this kind of, not top 10 team level, I feel like it's actually been much better than I expected. Especially when we travel, I think Sprout always takes really good care of us. We get, really nice hotels, and just everything is just really nice. That makes us perform to our highest level. So I'd actually say I've been pleasantly surprised. I feel more like a superstar when I travel, and just all in my ordinary life than I would have expected. And also I feel so insanely proud. There are still mornings I wake up when I think that I can't believe that I got to where I am. So it's been exactly like how I expected it to, but also in some parts way better than I had ever thought it would be. I don't think I have had to adapt my AWPing so much to playing against better opponents, because I've always had a very risk-reward style where I've really been taking the smart decisions every time. So I think that playstyle works really good even versus the better opponents. So I haven't been changing so much, but something that I've been changing a bit recently is that actually the Sprout guys want me to play a bit more YOLO. And it's something that I've tried to incorporate in my play. I do take a few more risks. I go for more risky opening duels. I just, all in all, take more risks where it might not benefit me so much, but it means that I'm in a position where I have a decent chance of getting a kill, and even if I don't get it, I will instantly be traded by a mate. So it's something where, stats-wise, it doesn't look as good as another style perhaps, but it's something that betters us in the long run. And to be honest, that's exactly what we want. We obviously want to be winning. I think also in the past I've been getting a lot of criticism for being, people have even said beta, or I would say a too passive player. And it's something that I've been working on changing ever since, and I still am. And I think this, new chapter in Sprout, where I'm actually trying to play a bit more YOLO at times and just act like I'm the best player in the entire world, I think that's making me have way more impact. I get more ADR, I get more impact, I get more kills. I might die more, but I think it's for the better, and I think my teammates agree. So that's the difference I've had in my AWP style lately. I can't actually remember exactly when I started out working with my mental coach, but it must have been somewhere around January of this year, maybe even December of last year, when a guy called Henrik, who works as a mental coach, just asked me, since he saw me on TV, on Danish TV, he asked me if I wanted to work with him. And he does it free of charge. We kind of help each other, I guess, get better, because he works on my performance, but at the same time, I'm kind of his gateway into esports. And it's kind of an area that he would like to continue his career in. He also does regular sports, but he also does esports now. And basically he just contacted me on Facebook, I think, and I've always been thinking that a mental coach is something that makes good players better. And so I took him up on the offer. We have probably a chat once a month, approximately. And I think for me, the biggest difference is, especially at Copenhagen Games, I had an insane event, and actually leading up to the event, I felt like I was really off my game. I didn't have confidence and all that. And then I took a talk with him like 4 days before the event on how I could play better or how I could play differently, what things I needed to focus on. And I ended up having arguably one of the best events that I've had ever. I think that was down to him and the talk. And that's also why I've decided to book a talk for later today, so that I can mentally get ready for the minor. And yeah, I'm hoping it will work out once again. I think the biggest difference between playing with players like Kevin and Pavel, so Crystal and Innocent, and Martin and Dennis, so Percy and Cyclone, I think is that you can definitely feel the difference in experience from time to time. I think also players like Crystal and Innocent, because they've been in the scene longer and they've played at a higher level, I think they make less of the really bad mistakes. Everyone still makes mistakes, of course, but the really bad ones that can just lose you around instantly, they make very few of those. I think Percy and Cyclone are also players who don't make so many of those mistakes. I would view them as two very clever guys in the CS scene. But I think the difference is just that, you know, you have players who are tenured, who've been doing it for many, many years at the top level, and they obviously just have a different style of play because they need something that works versus every opponent. Whereas when you're on a lower level, you can sometimes even get really far just by having aim. So I think there's a difference there, but in other words, I would also say, you know, I think the biggest difference between Crystal and Percy, for example, is that even though Crystal was insanely aggressive in his entry fragging, I think Percy sometimes is, I wouldn't say he makes better decisions directly, but it's like, I think Kevin, Crystal, is an insane entry fragger. He's so aggressive and he creates so much space for the team, but I think sometimes he's kind of too aggressive and it takes away the space from himself. And in turn, he doesn't perform as good as I know he can because he's an insane player. I think Percy, he's got a really good understanding of when to go and when to stop. And that's something that I value very highly, because that's what wins you rounds, that you have a player who very, very rarely you know, make key mistakes. And it's something that Percy is getting better on day by day. It's something that he struggled a bit with in LPSP, I would say, but here in Sprout, he's definitely improving a lot. Now, in terms of Cyclone and Innocent, I think Cyclone gives a lot tactically. I think Innocent is a phenomenal player. He can pretty much do it all. But I think if I had to say one negative thing about Pavel, it's that I think his communication is sometimes, I wouldn't say bad, but it's just that I like players who communicate a bit more than Innocent does. I think that's something that obviously an in-game leader will always do. He will always be the guy that communicates a bit more. And because of that, if I have to put them up against each other, I think it's kind of easier to play with Cyclone, since he's more the support style player, and Innocent is more the star player type who gets a lot of frags. And obviously for my own performance, it sets me up better to have an in-game leader who builds the game around me, I guess. Basically, I think the difference between Crystal and Cyclone, for example, is that Crystal will usually make strats that in theory work really, really good, but it doesn't necessarily work good for the players in the team. So if you had the perfect AWP player, the perfect rifle player, the perfect entry fragger, the perfect blah, 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 in theory, that would be the completely, perfectly optimized strategy. Whereas I think Cyclone is an in-game leader who is a bit better at viewing and valuing what a player is good at and what he's bad at. So he's very good at making strats or variations of strats where it seems like it's the players themselves, it's their individual abilities that get highlighted. Whereas with a caller like Crystal, the strategies aren't bad, it's not a bad style of calling, it's just optimized for a perfect team. And Cyclone, he more optimizes it for the weaknesses and strengths of the team, which has been working out really well. that obviously also means that it takes away a lot of the space that he could get, and that's also why you oftentimes don't see a guy like Cyclone maybe putting up the insane number of frags, but it means that the other players get utilized as best they can. And I think a guy like Cyclone, he doesn't call so loose. It's really structured in a way, but I mean, I don't think you can really say much other than the fact that it's just working. We are here at the FACEIT Minor, and it's the biggest tournament, at least for the 3 Danes. And for the German guys, I'm sure they're happy to be back in the major circuit in one way or another. So I think all in all, I'm really happy with Cyclone's calling. It gives us a lot of space to perform the 4 other players, and it's nice to have a guy who's so selfish in the team, who just, you know, kind of puts all the pressure on himself and lets all the other players perform. So yeah, I'm very happy with how he's doing in-game leader-wise. Yeah. Well, I think this is our second LAN as a team, at least for this 5-man core. And I think the LAN in Paris, it gave us a lot. Not only did we get a second place, I mean, in a four-team tournament, second place is not bad, but it's not, obviously we wanted the first, right? But I think it gave us a lot. It gave me personally a lot, because it showed me that we have 4 players on the team besides me who can all show up on LAN as well. And that's something that's just so insanely important when you try to, you know, get into the good tournaments. I didn't have my best event, but Dennis and Timo really stepped up in the first match, and I think Percy had, if I remember correctly, versus LDLC in the grand final on train, he was just an absolute animal. And Cyclone also saved a lot of rounds for us in the start of the attacks game on Inferno especially. So it's crazy that we can get a second place finish versus so many good teams when I'm not showing up. And I hope that here at the Minor is the time that I will show up, and that my teammates will continue to play the good game that I think they've been playing. And I think if we all 5 can show up, it's just gonna be so good. So for me, especially the Paris LAN, it just gave me more belief in the team. And I think that's also why we made it to the Minor. People started really believing. Yeah, okay. So yeah, here for the Minor, I think it's also something, you know, we can build off of. Even if we get a bad result, we'll hopefully use it for something good in the long run. Well, in terms of expectations here for the Minor, I mean, it's so hard to say anything, because we had such a good start in the close qualifier. We went 2-0. We could have even had the top seed. We went to a 3-map series versus Kingwin, but then we end up actually getting the lowest seed, right? We get the 3-2 scoreline, and I'm not sure how that impacts me mentally, at least. Expectation-wise, it might change a bit. If we had the first seed, I would probably say, hey, we should go out of the groups instantly and go to the playoffs. But I don't know. I'm really hoping that we can beat Kingwin. I know in a best of 1 it's possible. The last 2 times that, the last 2 times we met them, in the best of 3 we got 1 map at least, and then the second time in MDL we won the map, the best of 1. I think we were leading 13-0 or something crazy. So we can for sure do it. And if we can beat them, we can also beat the other team in our group, and we can go through to the playoffs. If we can get a major spot, that's the thing, right? I think it all depends on what happens in the groups. If we get a good start to the groups, I'm sure we can go to the major, but I mean, it might as well happen that we lose two opening matches in the groups and we're out. I think anything can happen. I don't really have any expectations. I think I'll just go with the flow, and if it goes good, we'll go to the fucking major. If it goes bad, I mean, fuck it. It's a really sick achievement to just even get here, I think, with so many good teams.